Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of Excel's most powerful and maybe most misunderstood functions, Lambda. If you've ever wished you could create your own custom functions without having to write a single line of code, well, you are in exactly the right place. So let's dive right in.
Okay, so just look at this formula on the screen. See how we're calculating the average of the exact same range? Not once, not twice, but 3 different times? I mean, it's not just messy, right? It's an absolute nightmare to maintain. Imagine you have to change that range. You have to remember to change it in all 3 places. That is just asking for trouble.
Does that look painfully familiar? Yeah, I thought so. It's a super common headache for anyone who really uses Excel. Are you just tired of wrestling with these long, complicated formulas that you can't even read a week after you wrote them, let alone try to reuse somewhere else? And really, that gets to the heart of what I call the formula problem. We end up building the same complex logic over and over again. We copy it, we paste it, and we just cross our fingers and pray that we updated all the right cell references. It's slow, it's inefficient, and it's so prone to errors. There's got to be a better way, right? Well, guess what? There is, and its name is Lambda. Now, this is not just another function to add to your list. It's a totally new way to think about formulas in Excel. The best way to picture it, think of Lambda as your own personal, custom-built formula machine. You know, this is where a little mental shift changes everything. When you hear the term custom function, it sounds kind of scary, right? Like you need to be a programmer? But what if we just call it a formula with placeholders? All of a sudden, it's not scary at all. It's just a regular formula using the skills you already have where you give simple, friendly names to your inputs. And you don't have to take my word for it. Excel expert Leila Garani just nails it with this machine analogy. You build the machine one time, that's your Lambda, and then you can feed it different ingredients, different inputs, as many times as you want. You never have to rebuild the machine again. So when you boil it all down, what is Lambda? Well, it's basically Microsoft's official way to let you create your own reusable functions. You define the logic, you give it a friendly name that you'll remember, and then you can call it anywhere in your workbook, just like you would use sum or VLOOKUP. The best part? Absolutely no coding required. Okay, awesome. So how do we actually build one of these machines? It's a really simple 3-step process. And don't worry, this isn't going to be complicated. We're going to walk through it with a super simple example. It really just boils down to these 3 steps. First, you test. You write your formula in a cell, just like always, and make sure it actually works. Second, you build. You take that working formula and you wrap it inside the Lambda function, swapping out your cell references for placeholder names. And finally, you name it. You save your new creation in Excel's name manager and it's ready to go. All right, step 1, test. Then this is the part you already know how to do. Let's imagine a really simple price conversion. We take a price from cell B2, we multiply it by, say, an exchange rate of 1.3, and then add a $5 shipping fee. We just type it at a cell, hit enter, and make sure it gives us the right number. Step 1, done. Okay, now for the magic. Step 2, build. We take that exact formula that we know works, and we wrap it in Lambda. The first thing we do is define our placeholder, our parameter. Let's give it a sensible name, like price. Then we go into our original calculation and replace the cell reference B2 with our new placeholder name, price. And that's it. The logic for our machine is officially built. And now the big reveal. Step 3, name. We copy that Lambda formula, go into the name manager, and we create a new name. Let's call it CAD price. We paste our formula in, and look at that result. All that logic is now tucked away inside this beautiful, clean, readable function. Equals CAD price B2 is just so much easier to understand than the original calculation, isn't it? But wait, we are just scratching the surface here. Creating simple named functions is amazing, but that's just the beginning. Lambda has some serious superpowers, especially when it teams up with a new group of helper functions and when it performs something called recursion. Now this right here is a total game changer. See, normally you have to save a Lambda in the name manager to use it. But with these new helper functions, you can actually write and use a Lambda right there in the cell, on the fly, to perform incredibly powerful calculations across entire ranges of data. So who's in this helper crew? Well, you've got B row and B call, which let you perform a calculation on every single row or column in a range. You've got map, which applies a Lambda to every single element in an array. And then you have scan and reduce, which are fantastic for things like creating running totals. I mean, you have to see this to believe it. Just look at the difference. The old way to sum each row in a range involved some really complicated matrix algebra using a function called mmult. It worked, but good luck trying to figure out what it does. Now, you just use B-row. You tell it, take this array, and for each row R, sum it. The clarity is just night and day. All right, the other superpower, and this one is a big one, is recursion. Now, this is a concept from programming where a function can actually call itself over and over again. It solves a big problem by breaking it down into smaller, identical pieces until it reaches an endpoint. And into Lambda, you needed to write actual code, like VBA, to do this in Excel. And believe me, this isn't just some minor, nice-to-have feature. As Leila Guarani puts it, when she saw what recursive lambdas could do, it changed everything. This unlocks the power to create formulas that can loop, which can solve problems we never thought possible with formulas before.
So with all this incredible new power, right, comes a little bit of responsibility. The whole point of Lambda is to make our work clearer, cleaner, and easier to maintain. So let's make sure we're actually doing that. Okay, if you take one thing away from this section, let it be this. Good naming is everything. Look at that bad example. Equals lambda of a times b. What on earth are a and b? Who knows? But the good example? It's perfectly clear. You know instantly that you're multiplying an amount by a percentage. Seriously, do your future self a favor. Use names that actually describe what's going on.
So to wrap things up, let's lock in 3 best practices. 1. Always test your formula in a cell before you save it. 2. Use descriptive names, both for the function itself and for all its parameters. And 3. Use that little comment box in the name manager. A quick sentence explaining what your function does will be a lifesaver 6 months from now.
So you see, Lambda isn't some terrifying abstract coding tool. It's your personal machine for transforming those messy, repetitive, error-prone formulas into clean, elegant, and reusable functions. It makes your work simpler and unlocks some truly amazing new powers. So really, the only question left to ask yourself is this: what repetitive formula will you turn into a machine first?